other teams that have probably been saying it internally are going to feel more comfortable attacking them in that way. And we see it every single year under Mike McDaniel. Really good against bad teams, don't show up against good teams, have a propensity to be bullied around. And we saw some of that this year. We saw that in their first matchup with the Bills. We've seen teams have their way with them in December and January. Not even in January. They don't even get to January half the time. And then also, I'll never get the image out of my mind of Tyreek Hill being jammed to the ground in the AFC wildcard game last year against the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead. I know it was really cold. Tyreek Hill letting L'Jarius Sneed jam him into the ground multiple times, stand over him, bark at him. And after the game, the very next day, Tyreek is retweeting, quote tweeting that, laughing at it. Like, are you serious?
See, we said they have had this reputation, and a reputation can be based on zero fact.
Yeah.
It can be a rumor that is spread, something that caught on, what the media are saying. That can make your reputation. But now a former player says it, it's a statement of fact.
So DeShon Elliott, again, was a safety, played on the defensive side of the ball for these Miami Dolphins. And here it is, Jalen in the chat. Y'all boys soft as cottonelle, triple ply. I mean, I can't even afford triple ply cottonelle. That's so much. That is so tender. Yeah. I can't afford that when I go to the store. Double ply at the very most.
Yeah, that decision has been taken out of my hands in my household because I go cheap on the toilet paper.
Yeah. Oh, you can't. You don't do single. You gonna scrape yourself up, man.
Yeah, I take it from work. Kind of under my shirt out the. I go out the back door.
Hey, I've not been above that. Back in my first job, I frequented that, but that's more so because I used to always forget to get stuff from the grocery store. Now that I have a wife and she handles a lot of picking up the stuff, we're fine on that end. But look, this is embarrassing. We talked about embarrassments on Monday and how the Cowboys should be embarrassed, all the stuff they have coming out of their locker room and whatnot. How the Miami, football teams in general should be embarrassed. The Dolphins should feel embarrassed and humiliated. Let's hear the rest of DeShon Elliott, though, because he went on, and we'll play it from the beginning because listen to him right after he says it. He acknowledges he shouldn't have said it, but because he has zero fear, he has absolute no fear of the repercussions that could come because he knows how soft the Dolphins are, he continues.
I haven't been able to play against Baltimore the way I wanted to because last year I played up for a team that was soft as oh my God, I can't put that on there. That was pretty soft. The guys on the team, but there were some guys who were tough, but like for the majority of the team, there was not mentally tough individuals.
Oh my God!
So to be on a team with a full team of mentally tough guys going against another mentally tough team and AFC North ball, it's gonna be fun, man.
It only got worse. Like it's worse that he tried to clean it up, and in cleaning up, he said, "Well, they were pretty soft," and then he said they're not mentally strong; they're mentally weak. Like. It got worse as he tried to explain the way that he said they were soft as bleep. It would have been better if he left it as soft as bleep. Now we know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, because in a football locker room, being physically not soft, I got in trouble for saying what I said yesterday, but if you're a tough guy, physically, that means to you. But if you are soft mentally, that's kind of addendum on you as a person. Outside of football, if you're in any job and someone labels you as mentally weak and mentally soft, I don't want to work with that guy. I don't want to play next to that guy.
No. Being described as mentally weak, fragile, not just within the football locker room. In general, that's just overall a diss. It's a bit disrespectful. To say that about a professional football team in a contact sport where you're likely going to have to play him again. I looked it up. I was just trying to see, is he on his last deal or something? He's 26 years old. DeShon Elliott has at least 4 more years, and he also right now he's one of the best safeties, or he's one of the best defenders on that Steelers team right now. He leads the team in tackles. He has an interception. He's integral to what the Steelers do on the defensive side of the ball, and that's where they hang their hat.
And he's kind of speaking for the AFC North there because he's talking about AFC North football, Ravens, Steelers. They kind of have that, to compare to college football, SEC mentality.
Yeah.
It's just tougher here. You guys wouldn't get it unless you played in this rivalry. Even Bengals, Browns, include them in this AFC North division. We play football a little bit differently here. That's cute, smoke and mirrors in the South Florida sun. This is AFC North football.
Yes, and I just actually got a text outside of the chat asking, because they're curious if you actually got in real trouble for what you said yesterday. He didn't get in trouble from the higher-ups. It just looked bad when he started talking about,
if you're not soft, you're hard.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really apply that way.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And
I didn't get in trouble. No.
He went in a little too far on talking about how, it just got a little weird.
I didn't want to derail the conversation like I did yesterday, even though we're talking about softness.
Yes. And that's what DeShon Elliott said about your football team, your team that was 11-4 and then lost out at the end of the year last season. And part of the reason why y'all lost out was because you whirled into a game with the Ravens. I don't know if people remember that or not. The Dolphins, I believe, were 11-4 last year near the end when they had that game against the Ravens. And that game, if the Dolphins would have been able to win it, would have put them in I think, pole position in the AFC. They would have had a chance to be the number 1 seed. And DeShon Elliott was on the Dolphins at that time. He rolled into that week with them. He saw how they prepared. He saw how they went out there and played. He played alongside them. And the way that he depicts and the way that he perceives that same team, which has a lot of the same cast, is soft. And the results also speak to them being somewhat soft. Losing that game against the Titans last year, being up by 13 with 2 minutes to go and finding a way to lose. Like every single result we've seen from them against contenders, against playoff teams in the past couple of years, the only team they beat that made the playoffs in the past few seasons under Mike McDaniel was the Cowboys, who are also soft.
Yeah. If there's a second in the running for a reputation of being both mentally and physically soft, it is the Cowboys 2, the Dolphins 1.
Yeah, it's a clear delineation, and I wouldn't even feel comfortable putting any other team in that conversation.
Because it's disrespectful.
It's disrespectful. But time and time again, people either say it behind microphones, people in positions like ours, or now former players are saying it publicly as well that the Dolphins are soft. So with all that being said, C-Cat, of course, if you're Mike McDaniel, who speaks on Wednesdays for the Miami Dolphins, head coach there, it's your 3rd year, you're still in fighting position to make the playoffs this year. You hear that guy who you used to lead and coach, who you didn't re-sign in the offseason because you felt you can be stronger in other ways, that guy is saying that about this current football team. There has to be somewhat of a firm response to that, right? Can we hear Mike McDaniel talking to reporters today?
Our team played a tough-fought game the last 3 weeks, and ended up finding a way to win this past week. And I think that's not the easiest thing to do, and just worried about this year's team. And it's cool you said it on a podcast. Cool podcast.
That's it.
I mean, it's just like what. That's the leader of your Miami Dolphins, and I like Mike McDaniel. I'm a guy that's favorable towards him. I like how creative he's gotten on offense. It was really fun. I've said it from the beginning of his tenure there. He's made the Dolphins fun. At the very least, even if they're not going to win, even if they're not going to be Super Bowl contenders, the Dolphins are fun. That's good for this area. I don't know if you have that kind of response from a Dan Campbell, from a Mike Tomlin. Hell, even from like an Andy Reid. I don't know if that's what you're going to hear from them. Either you're outright dismissive of it, or you attack it head on. But that's the response of a guy. That's the kind of response you would expect out of a coach who is supposedly leading a team that's soft. And I don't want to think that the Dolphins are soft, but damn it, every other clue is telling me that they are at this point, C-Cat. Everything is pointing towards that.
That immediately made me think of college football last year. One of the biggest non-conference football games was Notre Dame. It was Ohio State. When Ohio State beat Notre Dame, what was the first thing that Ryan Day had to say after an instant classic? He went after who he believed to be Lou Holtz because he believed Lou Holtz called his team soft.
Yes.
And the first thing that he had to say was, well, I would like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. That's not a soft football team.
He wanted to fight Lou Holtz on that football field right there. Lou Holtz is 98 years old. That's how angered you should be by somebody characterizing your team as soft.
Like, if we're in the sandbox of sports,
football.
right? There's a real world out there that we know football and sports is its own little sandbox. It's not real life. But that's like the worst thing you can say.
Yeah.
That is the worst thing you can say about somebody else.